The world isn't being subtle anymore. The chaos, the weirdness, the contradictions that seem to be ever present in our day-to-day lives. It's all right in our face, and it's okay. We can handle it. Headlines feel surreal. Systems keep glitching, and people are acting like just everything is okay. Everything is normal. Everyone just calm down. But it clearly isn't. You can feel something pressing on all of us, like the frame around reality is starting to creak. So tonight, before anything else, we'll be looking at what's happening out there in the world. The news sets the temperature for the world that we're all walking through. And we're not going to get too deep into the day-to-day news things because that's not what Magus and the media here is for. That's not what we're here to do. But after that, we'll pull it back into the stuff that actually helps make sense of this moment. We have a gentleman by the name of Robert Anton Wilson. His reality tunnels and his magic and conspiracies is connecting the dots in the ever-present world of madness. We have one of my new over the last few months, over the last year, Lord of Mysteries and its hidden orders, secret societies, its conspiracies, its cosmic horrors, and the madness that comes when trying to become a beyonder. That kind of connects deeply with Alan Moore's comic books, as well as his cosmic horrors, and those hermetic threads that tie everything and keep showing up in our world. This is Monday Madness, magic, myth, and the mad world. So what are we all walking into? Hello, 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 as we're all here. Ahoy, ahoy to us all. Thank you for coming and joining me on this fine Monday evening. We're going to get into it right now, right away. It's getting strange out there, like I was saying. It's so strange that anime is just trending left and right? It's like the newest big thing. It's not even new. It's been happening as the world is building towards this tumultuous chaos that we all live within. And that's beautiful because it's not even just Japanese anime or South Korean anime with your Demon Slayers, Chainsaw Man into your solo levelings and such, but we're getting the donghwas as well, the Chinese animations with your Lord of Mysteries. Again, one of my new favorite of all stories that is coming out. It's going to be coming out and we're so grateful until like 2035, 2037, season after season, the next few seasons, 30 some episodes. We're getting movies. It's getting beautiful out there. Not only that though, we are getting live action Zelda, which is going to be amazing or not, but let's take a look from discussing films. We have the first look at the live-action Legend of Zelda movie in theaters, May 7th, 2027. Looks beautiful with those backgrounds, the mountains and the greenery. We get Zelda in the front there, and we get Link in the back. Zelda, people get confused often. Here's Link, looking all Link-like. Get Zelda, those beautiful fey ears of hers. Amazing stories. Why is it so amazing and why does it matter from what we're doing? Well, because they're trying to make live actions out of everything and it may or may not go well. And we hope it does because Zelda is one of the greatest games known to man. And why is it so crazy? Well, Zelda, if you think about it, is you and it's me. And not just Zelda, I mean the game. The story of Link, the boy who must wake up. I'm also very excited for this one as well. And again, I always reserve judgment for these types of things. No, I have lots of judgment. I reserve excitement for these types of things because a lot of the times they show up and they end up being not so great. And sometimes we get the very great, right? Frankenstein just came out, live action adaptation that Guillermo del Toro, right? Del Toro. Guillermo del Toro. Not everybody has a sense of humor. I made a review. I did a quick review. Live. My big review is coming out. It's going to be a nice 40-minute review on Frankenstein, the movie, the Guillermo del Toro movie. After I watched it last week, I did a quick little post I put out on Instagram and put it on TikTok, and I was really tired. It was late. And I said his name, and I said the beginning of it really fast, and it didn't sound correct, even though I know how to say it. And interesting enough, it's one of my biggest Instagram videos I've put out there. 11,000 people saw it, and as we're growing, but so many people wanted to correct me on it. So it's an interesting thing to get a little like a small viral reel. You must say something wrong so everyone can hate on you. Great. So that's coming out this week over the next few days. But with the Zelda idea, let's remember what this story is all about. You get a boy facing off against Ganondorf, right? The big bad guy, the demon character, the devil character, the authoritarian tyrant ruler trying to take control of all Hyrule. And you get the boy in the beginning. It's always right away. He's sleeping. We get Link sleeping. The idea of Link sleeping is that's exactly what's going on. Just like I said in the thumbnail, just like I've been saying through all of our videos, is wake up. What are we waking into from this fallen world? Hyrule falls. They steal the princess. This princess is Zelda. Link needs to go rescue the princess from Ganondorf and all of it, but he must first wake up in his little village, just like we all must. The hero's journey. We must wake up from our little village and realize that something is not okay. But before you go off on your journey, what must you do? You must learn the ropes of the world. And yes, you must gather your tools, because the first tool he uses, he picks up a stick. And Link goes off into this world with this stick as he goes and kind of farms, as in, gains experience points in that world to get better swords and better shields and better outfits. And that's kind of where we're at, right? We're every day waking up, working and dealing with our family and our children. And it's just as Robert Anton Wilson will call it, it's the robot self. It's that being that must be there to make sure that our day-to-day lives are taken care of. Because upon that foundation, we must grow roots deep enough to be able to withstand the weight of the world like Atlas. Like Link. And as Link wakes up, you hear his little fey creature, his little fairy say, "Wake up, Link, wake up." It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up, Link, as we walk into this world, and hopefully it's not a bad movie. Hopefully the movie helps show the hero's journey as a young man grows into adulthood in his own right in the story to protect and save the princess. She doesn't really need saving as much as it's the conjoining in that Jungian sense of the anima and the animus, right? She needs saving because Ganondorf, the bad guy, is huge, and he overpowers her and he steals her away, right? And that's where then Zelda or Link comes in to go away from his little village and into the big bad world and collect all his little things to be able to take on the big bad guy in the end. And it's just very, either Nintendo knew what they were doing or not. They made the name Link. And Link is that, it makes it so we all feel like the hero on our journey. So when we play the game, Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or any of them really, the new ones which are amazing, Breath of the Wild and so on and so forth, it kind of puts yourself into the position of the character. But instead, we're in this world. And this world is wild. There's a lot going on. In this world, we have different big bad guys, different dragons to battle. And with those dragons to battle, we must have great roadmaps. And it's the roadmaps that we're talking about. It's the video essays I'm doing and the reviews. It's the stories and the myths and the books and the comic books and the animation and the anime and all the different beautiful things. And interestingly enough, in our world, like I was saying, we're getting a lot of build up into our anime. And so as the Screen Rant states, the next big trend in anime is here, and it's all started with these two breakout hits, and what you see is the Lord of Mysteries. Lord of Mysteries is amazing. Why is it so amazing? Well, it blends some of my favorite things, and it's got beautiful animation and cinematography and art in it, as well as the magical system underneath that. That is underlying. Yeah, Miyamoto knew what he was creating, and that's with the Zelda. He had to. It's that culture underneath him. And even if he didn't know what he was creating, his unconscious did. The creative unconscious within him knew exactly what was going on. And it guided him in this story. And that's why everyone fell in love with it so much. And same with what we got with Lord of Mysteries here. Why did Lord of Mysteries break out so hugely? It's not a correct grammar or word, but it's a thing, and we all feel it. It just came out of nowhere, it seems, obviously, for the American viewer. In China, I have a friend who lives there, and he told me that Cuttlefish, who loves diving, who's the author of Lord of Mysteries, which came out as a web novel and then was adapted into the Donghua, which is the Chinese anime. It's where we get what they call an isekai. Isekai in the anime realms means taking yourself from one world, normal world, into this vast, huge world that you're just kind of thrown into. And in this world, they use terms like, and they do it in other books I hear, because people are trying to tell me in my Lord of Mysteries videos that it's just, you're reading too much into it. The term transmigration, which they use in Lord of Mysteries. Transmigration, in layman's terms, means just that of what isekai means. Moving from one realm to the other, right? And all of a sudden, in that realm, and most of these times, you become a hero, or you become, the villain, or you become a slime, right? Some stupid anime, which supposedly is pretty good if you watch it. It's not my style, but whatever, oh no, I woke up as a slime. Crazy. Not going to watch it. It's okay. But with Lord of Mysteries, what we do right away in the beginning of this anime is you get a man transmigrating into the body of another person. And that person just offed themselves, right? That's the mystery. What is going on in this world, and why did that happen? And so you get this character who, on his way home, he's a normal computer programmer, and what he does is he stumbles upon in the normal world, just a normal hustler on the street trying to sell him a book, and that book is a book of spells. And that book of spells, he goes home because he's a computer programmer. He's kind of, he's a keyboard warrior. He's, just trying to live his 9 to 5 and, just get by in the world. And he's like, maybe I should do this little spell, this little ritual, this luck enhancement ritual. And then maybe, just maybe, my luck will enhance. And it does, kind of. And it all depends on what enhancement means in these categories. And so this image we get of Klein. Klein is sitting in the great chair of the mage, the great chair of the fool. And the fool is what he becomes in this story. The fool, we all start out as the fool in the story and of the tarot. And these cards, this journey of the major arcana. And Klein, he falls into the body. So we get this beautiful scene of this boy transmigrating into the body of a man that's sitting at his desk with a gun at its side. And he, with all these papers and these journals, this one Antigonus journal. And as this person falls into this body, he has pain in his head. And that's because that's where all this just took place. Where that heals really fast, this pain in his head, this hole in his head. And now Klein, who was this other character, this boy, he is awoken into that body. And now he has to put all the pieces together. And so really interesting, Lord of Mysteries. So obviously this is a mystery. And if we can take that mystery into our everyday lives and understand that our own world is a mystery and our own lives are a mystery to us, there is a pattern set out for us for our life that we don't truly understand. And every day we're trying to put the pieces together. And there are certain roadmaps and models to try to understand these things. And that is one of the beautiful things about our modern myths and these modern stories that we're learning about, Lord of Mysteries being one of them, Zelda being another. But in Lord of Mysteries, you get a background of the story being this cosmic horror mixed with steampunk and occult Western or a Western esoteric tradition as its magical system. 22 paths. You climb up this tree to become a beyonder from 9 to 0. Just like any great game or book, science fiction or fantasy book where these heroes are trying to build themselves up. That's what you're getting here. And so even Screen Rant gets that as we scroll down here. The next big trend in anime is here, and it all started with these 2 breakout hits. So let's read this a little bit. Shonen has always been one of the most beloved genres in anime. Shonen as in like martial art, fighting, teenage stories. And recently it managed to gain even more popularity. There's a myriad of incredible shonen series for fans to dive into, from classics like Dragon Ball Z and One Piece, which is trash. But you can like it. Anybody can like One Piece. It's cool. Just not for me. I have reasons. I don't got to tell you what they are. Not on the stream. To smash hits of the modern day like Chainsaw Man and again, One Piece, because it's still going on. That's the joke of that. Well, out of every great modern shonen anime series, however, 2 have taken 2025 by storm. The first is Solo Leveling, and the second is Lord of Mysteries. I've done videos on both because they're very mythological and magical stories that have great underlying arc they're trying to express, both some kind in one way, very simplistic, yet still think a tale of archetypical mythological extent, that being of Lord of Mysteries. This is Sung Jin Woo, your main character right here. Very Gnostic story. And then you get the other one, Lord of Mysteries. That's a very more complex story that is being told, that has a lot of detail being put into this first season, which was 13 episodes, 12 episodes long. And they go on to state there are 2 exceptional series that have defined the year, and they both have the potential to be big names. While these 2 series don't have a lot in common on the surface, they do share one key aspect that many be hinting towards the future of anime. And this seemingly component has contributed massively to both series. And if other series learn from them, it could change anime forever. And so here's some images. This is Demon Slayer. The movie just came out. I love Demon Slayer. We get Jujutsu Kaisen, right? And so these are 2 of the biggest anime out right now, both also telling very mythological, magical stories. Demon Slayer telling the story of a boy trying to save his sister and has to learn the art of Bushido, the art of the samurai, to be able to control his breath. And in controlling his breath, being able to control his energy systems, learning certain breathing techniques that tap into certain elemental or certain elemental powers, kind of like your Avatar: The Last Airbender. But instead in this one, there's sword techniques with breathing techniques integrated. And in doing so, you do fantastic magical things to defeat the demons, thus being a demon slayer. And you crawl up the ranks trying to become the best demon slayer, which is the Hashira. In Jujutsu Kaisen, you have the sorcerers in their school, right? And this is Yuji Itadori, the main character. This is, again, very similar. Tap into the body's energetic structures as people who can become cursed users. And in doing so, you have the ability then to tap into different energies. And if you have that ability to know, see, and look and witness cursed energy, right, and control your own cursed energy, you can have superhuman powers, thus taking out the curses, which all humans produce. Unless you can manipulate your own cursed energy, then you don't produce cursed energy, right? As in, you don't produce curses. You produce cursed energy, just not curses. And then you get the whole struggle of, what do we do in this world? You get people who want to eliminate all non-cursed, users, and you get people who want to save them. You get, the 2 friends in Gojo and Geto, right? And that's kind of the underlying basis of the story of what are we to do when people want to control the world. Very similar to what we find ourselves in to today. What are we going to do with people in the world that want to control it at every step? Interesting, right? Let's move on. They say it's not an exaggeration to say that there's never been a better time to be a fan of shonen, and I agree. To be an anime fan right now, there is brilliance and brilliance coming out over and over again, so it's really fun to do so. Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle became the highest grossing Japanese film of all time in 2025, taking America movie theaters by storm. Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze arc, followed right behind, showcasing one of the best anime films in years. The brilliance of that is amazing. I completely agree. Another story where there are devils around and you have people who are you have devil hunters and their associations built up to defeat those devils. Interesting enough. And then in that one, it's really cool is because an interesting and like heartfelt is that you get a character who's just trying to find intimacy, like we all are, just trying to understand himself in the strange world that we live in. Never said, it's up to you as well. And so as we move through, we're finding a theme. This theme is moving through it all. It's like when people say, well, maybe you're just reading too much into it. And I'm all like, are you watching what's happening at this very moment in our society, in life? Something is happening, and I'm trying to figure it out. And you get to come along on this journey and figure it out with me. And so as we move through, we see Solo Leveling and Lord of Mysteries dominating 2025. They're two of the strongest animes of the year, says Screen Rant. There isn't another pair of anime series that have been more successful in 2025 than Solo Leveling and Lord of Mysteries. For all you web novel readers, Lord of the Mysteries, right? So it's an interesting, for some reason, the got taken out of there, but it's Lord of the Mysteries. While Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man both had great years, which they did, obviously, one of the greatest like animation films of all time when you get your slice of life into that crazy battling at the end. And then Demon Slayer, beautiful. We're going to get 3 movies defining the end of the Infinity Castle arc when you get to beat the dragon at the center of the labyrinth, the Infinity Castle. What's going to happen to the main character at the end? I've read the manga. You should too. So I already know. I won't tell you. We have Solo Leveling's second season solidified its status as a modern great, and Lord of Mysteries' first season is showing that Chinese franchises can do just the same. They can. Everyone should watch it. It's amazing. Lord of Mysteries' massive success also proves that China is catching up on Japan in the world of anime. As the creators of anime, the Japanese have always had quite a lead within their own art form. Korea and China have had a few decent series, obviously, but nothing that tops the likes of, say, Naruto, Dragon Ball, and One Piece. Right. You get Dragon Ball, the granddaddy of them all. Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, your big 3, and then everything building off of those. Lord of Mysteries has the potential to become China's One Piece. I may not like that comparison. It's okay. I get it for platitudes and status. Okay, that's fine. With the backing of Tencent, one of the largest Chinese holding corporations, the future of Lord of Mysteries is looking good. The animators behind the first season also revealed a 10-year-long roadmap cementing their plans to fully adapt the popular manhwa into an anime donghua. Anime/donghua. There isn't much that can be said about Solo Leveling that hasn't been said already. Its unrivaled success pushed anime even further into mainstream. It won so many awards, so many, showing that the edgy anime doesn't have to be bad and redefine the limits of anime in only 2 seasons. Yes, both Solo Leveling and Lord of Mysteries lean into video game elements, they say. Solo Leveling isn't an isekai series, even though it can feel like one. And Lord of Mysteries is, while the 2 series don't look like they have a lot in common, both places a significant role in the leveling up systems, right? And this is a system that you can take to your own life, learning how to level up. Doing certain things, eating the right foods for your body, doing the right exercises and embodied practices, the right meditation, the right whatever it is to be able to calm the mind, get in control of the body, and understand your surroundings and become healthy so you can live a long life, a long cherished life. Right? So it's this easy way of understanding the world is through these certain models. Leveling up is one of the most video game-like elements any anime can add to their equation, and neither of these series would be the same without one. I completely agree. Solo Leveling's name comes from the fact that Sun Jin-woo is the only character in the series capable of getting stronger. He quite literally levels up solo, distributing his newly acquired points into a variety of stats that improve both his everyday life and his abilities in combat. As much as people hate on it and say it's simple, right, and that free run is way better than it, but like free run's amazing. They're different genres, right? And when we have stories, we can understand that these things can have different genres, and that's okay. And they can be okay in their genres. But let's see how big of, like, how amazing it, like, and just the great definition of animation and the fight scenes that we get and the badassery. We all want to feel like Sun Jin Woo when somebody is, when a group of ice elves are shooting archer bows and arrows and shooting arrows at you, and you grab it right before you save a person out of midair, break it with one hand, and then defeat everybody in the most badass way. You can hate all you want, but just understand this: you wish you could do that, and you can, in a way, as in these things come from the ancients, from the East and West, learning how to calm the mind, to be able to feel the wind and have the correct embodied ability through martial prowess and the Bene Gesserit skills of Prana Bindu, right? To be able to sense these things and then have superhuman feats. It's only superhuman because not everyone's doing it. But as soon as everyone does it, there are no superhumans. I hope you're catching what I'm throwing down right now. And so to move that on, we get Zhao Mingru, right? I probably butchered that, and that's okay. Zhao, who turns into Klein, right, is the main character in Lord of Mysteries. Also learned how to level up once he's reincarnated into the body of Klein Moretti. That's what I was just talking about beforehand. Zhao transmigrates into the body of Klein. He discovers the world of the Beyonders, characters with supernatural abilities, by completing certain formulas through rituals and actions reminiscent of quests, reminiscent of magic. Klein is able to advance his pathway, reminiscent of leveling up, right? This is what they're saying. I'm saying reminiscent, but these have a background in the archetypal realms or video games as well, like Zelda. Do you see what I'm saying? Zelda levels up through going from just the stick and battling these small little creatures more and more, having that and getting a better sword. And all of a sudden he has the master sword, and he's got his, he's connecting the Trinity, and he's doing all these amazing things. It's a video game. This is just anime. But this all comes from an underlying structure of an existence that we can be in. And that is the path of the mystic and the magician. The path of the warrior, king, and lover. These are archetypes, but they're also embodied experiences, just like instincts. When you feel fear, when you feel like you need to do something more for yourself, when you feel guilt, when you feel longing, when you feel love. Those are instincts. But there are also instincts of the mind. The mind-body connection really can be explained in a way that is our birthright. And I like to have the idea, not only is our world this video game, not in a solipsistic event of I'm the main character and everybody else is part of my dream and they don't exist, thus I don't exist, thus nihilism and meaninglessness. More like to the fact that not only am I a main character, but if you wake up from your mundane self, the robot, and have this level up event, right? Or this transmigration of yourself, or the ability to see past the circumstances that we are in, then you have the ability to become that superhuman. But it's not. It's just becoming human, finally. And that's the beauty of what we get with Dune, with the Gom Jabbar test in the beginning. She's testing him. I must make sure, she says, right, paraphrased, that you are human and not an animal. And somebody can argue, well, all humans are animals. Yes, but we have the frontal lobe. We have rationality. We have reason. We have the ability to have self-awareness. We have the opposable thumb, right? And so what I'm getting at here is that our world is feeling like a mirror. And our mirror is the stories that are expressing themselves to us. Why are these stories so important? Why are they so big right now? And why are we trying to find meaning in the world that is lacking it? The postmodern world of nothing is true, everything is permitted. It's time to wake up. Interesting enough, we are getting more adaptations, live action adaptations, right? We are getting The Odyssey and Dune Messiah. So I have mixed feelings over what's happening here. The box office, the cinema says on X, the box office was awfully quiet in October. Reinforcements are on the way next year. Well, I hope so, because currently Christopher Nolan is one of the best directors of all time. He made some of my favorite movies of all time. Inception, The Dark Knight, right? However, he's made other movies, right? They're all just what they are, and I'm excited for watching them because they could be beautiful. I hope The Odyssey is beautiful. I hope it's amazing. It's a take on, obviously, the stories of Homer. The ancient world, some of the greatest stories of all time. The story of Odysseus, one of the greatest warriors of all time, trying to find his way home from the wars. He just wants to get back to his wife, his family. And in doing so, we get the journey into the underworld, into the unconscious. Just like some would say, the Iliad is the journey of the conscious mind, of the solar archetype. We get the Odyssey being the journey of the lunar archetype, the journey of the magician, instead of the journey of the warrior. So Odysseus is tested, and just like we're going to test Christopher Nolan, where are you getting your translation of Homer? Interesting. Let's hope it's good. Dune Messiah, Denis Villeneuve, trying to adapt one of the greatest science fiction series of all time in Dune. There's 6 of them. Some of my favorite movies of all time. And so, right. Interesting, right? It's interesting when we see the world exposed. Right now, people are trying to come out with mythology in our entertainment. And it seems like over the last 20 years, there have been a lot of misses. And so now some of the greatest novels and stories of all time are being adapted. And we're getting our sorcerers and magicians of our age adapting them, like Christopher Nolan, like Denis Villeneuve, who have made great movies. But can they hit on the timelessness of these pieces, or will they be corrupted by the chthonic, demiurgic, parasite demons of this like discreated world, this parasite? And I call it a parasite because it's something that's leeching. Hollywood is leeching on old works that were amazing. We all grew up with Disney in the 90s, in the late 80s, and all through the 90s, early 2000s. And it seems like there was banger after banger. I will forever be changed by watching Aladdin as a child and taking on the mythology of trying to find my Jasmine, right? And becoming a prince and king. Same as all the other beautiful stories, right? Beauty and the Beast. Who doesn't want to be able to control their inner monster from the outward extension of the feminine, and then turn yourself into the king, right? A beast no more. And then what ended up happening is with Aladdin is all of a sudden you get a Will Smith remake, and it makes me want to bang my head through a wall. Or certain Beauty and the Beast remakes, and they're just god awful, right? Those are just the ones off the top of my head that I remember. Lion King, one of the most amazing animated movies of all time. And then it gets blasphemed and made into some kind of offtake of CGI live adaptation. It didn't work. It didn't work because it didn't have a heart. And so let's build a heart into this, right? The Odyssey, Dune Messiah. Do it right, or don't do it at all. And it doesn't have to be so despairing. You can try, and hopefully somebody will try again, and then we'll get it right, and we'll be able to feel something in our world as we're sitting in our own caves and our own mysteries of our life, where we just want to experience that from the normal, everyday, mundane life that we're living, because there's something magical happening underneath. There's magic happening underneath as well as crazy things happening underneath, right? That culture, as we're going to hear from Terence McKenna, is not our friend because crazy mad things are happening at all times, right? The government has been shut down for a long time, finally opened back up. What does that even mean? And so I know somebody out there is going to be like, well, if you understand politics and you understand the government and if you understand this and that, and it's like, do we even need them? I know we do, and institutions are important, but at any time, do they have the interest of the people? These are the questions we need to ask. And that's what is so beautiful about these spaces that we can do. I can do this with you. I can sit here with a mic and have a YouTube or whatnot, fill in the blank here of things, and I can speak to you. You can grow a little community, you can build, if you have the wherewithal, the knowledge or the want, the passion to speak truth into the world. And people will hopefully listen, and then so on and so forth, and you can speak in the public square. You got other madnesses going out in the world. I can't stop but always be hearing about, the Epstein list or the wars that are going on. UAPs. Are aliens invading? Are aliens extraterrestrial? Are they interdimensional? Are they extensions of our own unconscious? Or are they a chthonic force of the old ones? I find it to be interesting because these are all just models to view the reality through, and we don't really know. But we know something in our heart deep enough where it's not normal. And it's okay that it's not normal. And sometimes you need people to call them out in the world that, hey, you shake them and you go, hey, did you just see that? Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that Donald Trump is building a ballroom and they're all like, oh no, our tax money is going towards that. And then you say, oh no, it's not. It actually might be worse. I don't know if it is worse, but you can question this for yourself. I'm going to read this to you from The Fortune. So it's not our tax dollars that are creating a ballroom that seems to be maybe bigger than the White House itself, interesting enough, but instead what we're getting in this video game simulation organic realm of crazy madness is a bunch of private individuals, corporations, the techno lords funding this project. The Fortune says, meet all 37 White House ballroom donors funding the $300 million building, including Silicon Valley tech giants, crypto bros, and the Lutniks. And who are they then? Who are these crypto bros? So this says the estimated cost of the 90,000 square foot building has topped $300 million from the July estimate of $200 million. 37 donors are footing the bill, not the American citizen. Well, where did those donors get all their money from? Corporate donors as Meta Platform, the great CEO Mark Zuckerberg previously attended a White House dinner for tech leaders in September where he pledged at least $600 billion in investments in the US by 2028. Meta, the parent of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, frequently engages with federal digital policy initiatives and AI oversights. Wild. Interesting. Okay. It's just one. It's just Zuckerberg and his Meta crew. But let's move on. 2, Apple. The company announced plans in August to invest $100 billion in domestic manufacturing, aligning with Trump's wishes to reshore industrial work. CEO Tim Cook also attended the White House dinner last month and has maintained a close relationship with the administration. Okay. So you're right. Apple is now investing in this White House thing. Interesting enough. Who else? Amazon, founded by Jeff Bezos. We all have Amazon. Okay, that's cool. Google, the search engine giant parent company, agreed to pay $24.5 million to settle a dispute with Trump earlier this year. The Alphabet organization, folks, over his Google owns YouTube, right? So let's not forget Alphabet, who owns all these corporations, Google being one of them, YouTube being another, pledged $22 million of the settlement money to go towards the ballroom construction. So let me say that again, because I think I didn't say it correctly and you all might have missed it. So let's say it again. Google, who's investing in the ballroom of the White House, is a search engine giant. The search engine giant's parent company agreed to pay $24.5 million to settle a dispute with Trump earlier this year over his YouTube banning. Trump was banned earlier this year from YouTube. Okay. Following the Capitol riots. Alphabet pledged $22 million of the settlement money to go towards the ballroom construction. So what Fortune is trying to tell us right now is that they may got money from the settlement that happened, and they're putting it back into the White House that Trump is running. So let's say that again. I think I said it wrong. $22 million that they agreed to settle to Trump to pay him for the dispute that happened. They're like, no, instead, we're going to put this into this ballroom. Sorry, that's exactly what it is. Okay, great. Getting strange. Is the contradictions adding up so much that there seems to maybe be something going on here? Let's see who else. Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor, is a major supplier for the Pentagon programs and has received $33.4 billion in federal contract awards in 2025 alone. And they're grateful for the opportunity to help bring the president's vision to reality and make this addition to the people's house. It's the people's house, must be. A powerful symbol of the American ideals we work to defend every day. They're trying to help you. Thanks, spokesperson. Microsoft, Comcast, Altria, Coinbase, Palantir, the data analytics company. They're just a data analytics company. Nope. They first started off as a CIA asset built in the CIA for the CIA. They're just a data analytics company. T-Mobile, Ripple, Hard Rock International, Tether, so on and so forth. We're getting a lot of it. There's also private and family donors like the Adelson Family Foundation. We get Stephen E. Brody, so on and so forth. A lot of people, also a lot of rich families, the Lutnick family. And we move on. So we get things like that going on in the world as well. A ballroom. What do we need a ballroom for? And do we get to go if it's the people's ballroom? So it's the people's White House and the people's ballroom. Do I get to dance in the ballroom with the president? With Trump? Do a little waltz together? I don't think so. And when they're building said construction with all of these deep analytics companies and Alphabet, who's deeply interconnected with DARPA, the Defense Department, and Palantir, and Lockheed Martin, and crypto, and from our last stream, we're starting to see a trend with this surveillance, digital, interconnected, track, trace, and database. Internet is everywhere at all times. Robots are coming. You will be happy and own nothing. And that's fine. So, and why is that fine? It's fine because even though there are all these people and all these places with all this power, this supposed power, it doesn't have to be that way. And what I mean by that is that you and me and your family and your friends have the ability to take control of your life. And in doing so, that leads us to our first beautiful video. And this is by the great Robert Anton Wilson, the psychonaut, the magician, the poet and the novelist from the 80s and the 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and today. And so let's hear what he has to say on the situation, because I believe he has a very beautiful point, and it's don't believe in anybody else's BS. Here we are.
Never believe fully in anybody else's BS. I don't care if it's Roger Nish, the Pope, L. Ron Hubbard, Al Gore, George Bush, or I don't care who it is. Don't swallow all their belief system totally. Don't accept all of their bullshit, all their BS. The second rule is like unto the first. Don't believe totally in your own BS, which means that, as Bucky Fuller said, universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events. Non-simultaneously. Universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events, which means any belief system or reality tunnel you've got right now is going to have to be revised and updated as you continue to apprehend new events later in time, not simultaneously. This is the natural functioning of the human brain. It's the way children's brains perform before they're wrecked by the school system. It's the way the minds of all great scientists and artists work. But once you have a belief system, everything that comes in either gets ignored if it doesn't fit the belief system, or it gets distorted enough so that it can fit into the belief system. You got to be continually revising your map of the world.
You got to continually be revising the map of your world. I think that is one of the most important statements that is made in our war, in the realm of the rebel, the realm of the mystic and the magician, the realm of the counterculture. Let's bring the counterculture back because it has been missing. I will state the beautiful thing about the esoteric world, the world of the explorer, the world of the explorer of consciousness, of new lands, the adventurer, the hero on their journey, is that they don't believe in anyone else's BS. The next statement of that is you cannot believe fully in your own BS either. And you can take that as bullshit or you can take that as belief system, but either way, it's the same thing. Robert Anton Wilson says things beautifully. That was enunciated so well. And I thank him as somebody who I've read and taken as a mentor, even though I've never met him, because his work and his philosophies, his writings are like programs into my nervous system. And they have helped build me, especially build me into who I am today. Plato would say it is a remembering, right? Anathema. Just like, forgetting, you are remembering. Let me say it again. Anamnesis. Anathema is something else. Maybe that's nothing. It's aletheia, which is disclosure or truth. Anamnesis is remembering in a Platonic sense. And why is that so important? It goes back to what I was talking about with the Lord of Mysteries. In the Lord of Mysteries, they called it transmigration. And the idea about transmigration is we take it from the great Plato. Transmigration of the soul is that when you have a transmigrating soul, it is the passage of a soul into a body after death, also known as reincarnation or metempsychosis. It is a concept found in many religions and philosophies, particularly in Indian religions like Hinduism and Buddhism. And also it appears in ancient Greek philosophy and various other cultures and traditions. In a broader sense, transmigration can refer to any movement from one place or state to another. Zhao transmigrates from his body into Klein. Something happens. Zhao does a ritual, a luck enhancement ritual. And all of a sudden, he's taken from his world and put into another. Similar as, let's not get stuck in semantics here. When you read enough of something and you put your mental states into a state of vulnerability, of malleability, you can take on those programs. Robert Anton Wilson has a book called Prometheus Rising, aptly termed due to Prometheus bringing down the fire from the gods and bringing it to human. We are all Prometheus looking to grab fire from the gods and bring it to everyone else. Except for that fire from the gods does have the ability to both light homes and burn down buildings. And that fire is also termed that great elixir, the Philosopher's Stone, as we see. It's got a nice interconnectedness to it. The symbol isn't exactly the same, but you understand what I mean. These programs, right, that we are likened to, it's the metaphor of a computer where there's software and hardware. Your body is the software. all the things you read that get integrated into the mind as the body's the hardware, and all those things you take in is the software. And if you have the right coding, you can software it into you, and you can align these things. I have an idea that is just a metaphor, an analogy to the body-mind interaction and consciousness that maybe, as Plato spoke, this brilliant philosopher in around 300 BC, calling it transmigration, calling it metempsychosis, having the idea of anamnesis, but that we are all remembering something. Maybe I am just remembering, just like everyone else out there, trying to wake up from the circumstance that we find ourselves in and understand that the dream nightmare, because it can change on a dime, that all the NPCs around, just like I was once one, felt uncomfortable and anxious by the fnords abound. These little triggers that then put me deeper into my own BS, that then can be broken free by remembering, by triggers, by books, novels, literature, comic books, film, archetypes, mythologies, and stories. So again, if we can understand that we don't believe just in anybody's, nor our own, and constantly be revising and re-understanding how the world is giving data to us, then we can try to understand the crazy day-to-day world that we're living in today, that people are trying to put symbols into our minds, sigils into our minds. They're trying to put programs into our mind, into our bodies, so that we will listen and we will just become the herd. Either it's one side or the other. They're both a farce. It's just a model of viewing reality too that we've been so stuck on. And it's time to wake up. And it's time to wake up into our next beautiful clip by the great, again, mushroom guru, but he had more than that. He was a hermetic guru. He understood a way of life, and he understood the main dictum of culture is not your friend.
What civilization is 6 billion people trying to make themselves happy by standing on each other's shoulders and kicking each other's teeth in. It's not a pleasant situation, and yet you can stand back and look at this planet and see that we have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce the kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us.
But we are led by the least among us.
The least visionary. We are led by the least among us. And we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons. This is something, I mean, I don't really want to get off on this tear because it's a lecture in itself, but culture is not your friend. Culture is for other people's convenience and the convenience of various institutions, churches, companies, tax collection schemes, what have you. It is not your friend. It insults you. It disempowers you. It uses and abuses you. None of us are well treated by culture. And yet we glorify, the creative potential of the individual, the rights of the individual. We understand the felt presence of experience is what is most important, but the culture is a perversion. It fetishizes objects, creates consumer mania, it creates endless forms of false happiness, endless forms of false understanding in the form of swirly religions and silly cults. It invites people to diminish themselves and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines.
Like behaving like machines. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here? That at all times it seems like that's what's going on. It is what's going on. And it is in a way that we have become so accustomed to it that it takes massive events for us to kind of break free from those things. So we could see the craziness of today as our own self, our own ego, our own being that sees the greater picture, trying to leak bits of information, that there's something more going on beneath the surface and you just don't know what it is. That takes me back to Lord of Mysteries, solo leveling in these stories. What am I trying to get at? In these stories, as in Lord of Mysteries, there is a grand conspiracy going on that Klein doesn't know about. Why was the person that he transmigrated from into, why did he die? What happened? What is this book that I'm reading, that Klein was reading and writing in his journal? What is this Antigonus notebook? Why do these strange events keep occurring? And it seems like something's pushing this narrative along. It's almost like there's a hidden pen, a hidden narrator writing this story. It seems like somebody or something, some great entity is trying to put these patterns and pieces together for some kind of gain. We just don't know what it is. And it's easier to understand it that way than to think all of these great powers just have their best interest. Because everyone has a nervous system and everyone has a background. Everyone has their own software and hardware, their own wants and needs, which is why this one grand conspiracy isn't that. There's always something else going on, as Robert Anton Wilson talks about. He talks about how at any one moment, there's always 23 different conspiracies going on at once. They all take part in and move and do these things because they can help each other, and these families and these organizations and these institutions are created by like-minded individuals with their own gains and wants, the different backgrounds, different religions, and different systems altogether. But each one is looking to conspire in a way, and human nature isn't perfect. So it's not like a perfect plan can just be laid out. They can do it really close, but there's always chinks in the armor, right? There's always you and me out there having the ability, the normal person who's just trying to get by and make the best out of their life. And not just trying to get by, but become a superhero, right? It's so easy to fall in the trap of like, I'm just trying to get by. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to get by. What we're trying to do is we're trying to be better humans every day. And what I'm doing, how I'm doing that is trying to have the alchemical process, the coagulate solve, the Gnostic awakening, the great work unfolding. I'm trying to dissolve and rebuild. And in the dissolution, I'm trying to make sure that some of the hardened lead is just let go. So, because I don't need it anymore. It maybe never served me in the first place. And it's the path of the mystic, of the magician, of the warrior king lover, the fully actualized human, or somebody who's trying to aspire to do so. There are ways to go about it. And this is what I'm trying to help you understand. Because my video essays can tell you about the stories. My reviews, right? These little breakdowns, they can tell you the stories and the symbols. But then with this, I can have more of a dialogue and a conversation to all of you out there who are listening. And if you are listening, again, it's the little meme popping into your voice. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share so we can do this together. And all these practices we have, they've been around for a long time, just like the magical and the esoteric and the occult, the religion, right? The theological values. The great theologians did these mystical practices. You do it every day if you go to church, if you're more on the, if you're a Catholic, if you're a Buddhist, you're a Hindu, whatever religion it is, most likely you're doing a ritual. An embodied practice with ritual, a certain breath, with certain words, and you're saying them over and over again because you're trying to remember something, trying to remind yourself just a little bit more. These mnemonics, these little things you put yourself around. Oh, wait, what's this mean? Oh, Magus in the media. What am I? Oh, I'm a human trying to expand and understand myself, that there's magic in the world. Okay, so I'm going to read these books. I want to become a superhero. What do? You learn at a young age. Maybe I should learn how to use my body, get into something, exercise. Kung Fu, martial arts, the way of the sword. There's many different paths. The sun trying to understand my masculine, the moon, trying to understand my feminine. How do I unite them together? How do I make sure to balance them out so it's in harmony with each other? This level of equilibrium with that yin and that yang. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, and there's a lot of conspiracies abound. But not all conspiracies are wrong. They're not all bad. And if you've lived and paid attention at all in the last 20 years, you'll realize that most conspiracies, a lot of the ones that really hit home, a lot of conspiracy theorists, a lot of cranks and kooks, but there's a lot of people that are right. A lot of patterns and dots have been connected, and we're realizing that the world isn't what we always think it is. It's not as mundane as we think it is. It's not as material as the scientific materialist would want you to believe. There's more to it than we know. But we can't fall for every conspiracy. So we got to understand that there's many psychological operations afoot, many stories at play. So let's listen to what Robert Anton Wilson has to say. This is from an old video, an old interview of his from Thinking Out Loud. And I thank all of those back in the day who helped bring these to us.
In around 1973, I became convinced for a while that I was receiving messages from outer space. But then a psychic reader told me I was actually channeling an ancient Chinese philosopher, and another psychic reader told me I was channeling a medieval Irish bard. And at that time, I started reading neurology, and I decided it was just my right brain talking to my left brain. And then I went to Ireland, and I found out it was actually a 6-foot-tall white rabbit. They call it the puka, and the Irish know all about it. So it depends on who I'm talking to, which of these metaphors I use to explain where these weird patterns come from that jump out of the books and take hold of the readers and change their lives. It's not me, it's a 6-foot-tall white rabbit from County Kerry. Or it's the right hemisphere of everybody's brain. Mm-hmm. We're only different in the left hemisphere. In the right hemisphere, we all share in the same morphogenetic field.
The collective unconscious.
And the collective unconscious.
Now, you've been accused by some people, one might think of them as fundamentalist materialists, as being something of a fanatic, actually. And yet it seems that you're almost the opposite. Reality is extremely slippery for you. I don't get the feeling that you're stuck on any one model of reality.
Well, you know what Freud wrote about projection. The people, I have been accused of being a fanatic in the Skeptical Inquirer, but you just have to open that journal to see the people who put it out are all fanatics. And the people who accuse me of being possessed by devils are all the type of right-wing.
Let's just get that right and see how, just a little stoppage there, and see how interesting that is for our normal everyday world of what we're at. Is that what he just said is we're listening to all these people who are calling us certain names and labeling and doing all these things, but what about their nervous systems? What about their bodies? What about their mind? They're probably just as crazy as we are, or I am, and how cultures and cycles move back and forth, right wing, left wing, pushing agendas, pushing narratives. One moves forward, becomes the hero. All of a sudden we realize they're not what we wanted. The other moves forward, becoming the hero. We realize that no, they're not fulfilling their promises. We all have these things. We need to wake up to them, to realize this Hegelian dialectic, this two-partied system, two sides of the brain trying to communicate to themselves. Really interesting stuff. Will we be able to unite them? I fact-checked myself. I realized it after the stream last time, or two streams ago, the corpus callosum that unites the two sides of the brain.
Fundamentalist who rolls around and speaks in tongues and gives all the signs of being possessed by the devil themselves. So I tend to look at, I think basically I'm a mirror. My books are mirrors, and when a monkey looks in, no philosopher looks out.
Well, how do you separate the inside from the outside?
Well, that is one of the difficulties. That's why people get embroiled in weirdities while they're reading my books, because I'm dissolving the difference between the inside and the outside. Like most people think their head is inside the universe, but I have demonstrated in several of my books that the universe is inside our head is outside the universe. this whole studio, for instance, it's got to be inside my head or I wouldn't be aware of it. I've got a model of it inside my head. Now, inside that model of the studio is a model of me. And on top of the model of me is a model of my head. But that's not my real head. My real head contains the studio and my body and this model of a head. And it's the same with the whole universe. The whole universe is a model contained in my head, which contains a model of my head. So I've got two heads, the head outside the universe and the head inside the universe. Now that should be perfectly clear, but if it isn't, Bertrand Russell has a proof using six-dimensional geometry in his book, The Nature of Human Knowledge. I hope that clarifies which is inside and which is outside, and we don't have to get trapped in that again.
Well, one of the points that you often make is that we get caught up in these apparent paradoxes because of linguistic habits and a habit that we've had since the time of Aristotle of thinking in terms of syllogistic logic.
Well, yeah, I believe our language, we can only see what we observe, and we can only observe what we have categories for in our language. That's known as the Whorf hypothesis in anthropology. Actually, it goes back to Guillaume Battista Vico, an 18th century Neapolitan who has been a major influence on me as well as on James Joyce. And my books are full of neologisms and odd uses of language just to break through the habits of perception that are conditioned by using ordinary English.
You once wrote a whole book without using the verb is.
Yes, that's quantum psychology. I also break sentences up in the Burroughs way, so there's no subject and predicate. I use Joycean stream of consciousness. I run words together, so one word has 5 different meanings depending on which way you look at the sentence, like Joyce did in Finnegan's Wake. All of this is attempts to get us out of the lines of word and image that were laid down by our ancestors. After all, if we're seeing the world our ancestors put into our language, we're not seeing the world we're living in. It's obvious that our ancestors did not live with computers, spaceships, George Bush, and other incredible occurrences that are typical of our lives.
Right, and that's a major point that is, I think, really important that we're all trying to understand is as the world changes, our language changes. As the language changes, our symbols and signs change. The metaphors change for how we understand these things. And so when we are decoding the unconscious and the unknown, we're going to bathe it in the stories that we understand. And as those stories we understand, they change through time. And if great artists, great magicians, great storytellers if they have the ability to tap into these stories, they can tell a true story. But we have to understand it's just that. It's the same thing that we deal with on a day-to-day basis when we're listening to the news, when we're listening to our entertainment, when we're listening to our friends and family around us. We got to understand that they also all are just trying to figure it out. No one knows what's happening. Just like there's no one grand conspiracy, that there may be 23 or more great conspiracies happening all at once, that there's not just one great big bad guy, there's many bad guys happening, and there's many good guys. The good guys and the bad guys switch places, as we learned in Dune, that we must be wary of charismatic leaders. We must be wary not only of them, but the charismatic leader within ourselves. So we don't get caught in the same rat race. So there are certain patterns, and there are certain ways of thinking. There are certain exercises and practices to help decode, decipher, process, and then revivify and reunite together and understand those things so we can understand how to become better humans, creating better structures, creating communities and programs and institutions that are going to help save us from ourselves. And so as we wrap into the last conversation with the great, they're all great. I love these guys. So you always hear me. These are my mentors with your mentors. Even if you have never met them, but you take in their work, they will be great to you. The great Alan Moore on Conspiracies. Take it away, Alan.
In the mid-1980s, I was asked by an American legal institution known as the Christic Institute to compile a comic book which would detail the murky history of the CIA from the end of the Second World War to the present day, covering things such as the heroin smuggling during the Vietnam War, the cocaine smuggling during the war in Central America, the Kennedy assassination, and other highlights. What I learned during the frankly horrifying research that I had to slog through to accomplish this was that, yes, there is a conspiracy. In fact, there are a great number of conspiracies that are tripping each other up.
Right.
All of those conspiracies are run by paranoid fantasists and ham-fisted clowns. If you are on a list targeted by the CIA, you really have nothing to worry about. If, however, you have a name similar to somebody on a list targeted by the CIA, then you are dead. The main thing that I learned about conspiracy theory is that conspiracy theorists actually believe in a conspiracy because that is more comforting. The truth of the world is that it is chaotic. The truth is that it is not the Jewish banking conspiracy, or the grey aliens, or the 12-foot reptiloids from another dimension that are in control. The truth is far more frightening. Nobody is in control. The world is rudderless.
Nobody is in control. The world is rudderless. Nobody is in control. The world is rudderless. That one, he was speaking a little softly. So that's as high as I could go on that one. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Excuse me. And the idea is that people are, no one's in control. And I think that if we have a good understanding that no one is in control, that then everybody claiming to be in control is actually deluded, and they have their own levels of delusion of grandeur. And so we just have to just tell them, hey, you up there at the podium, at the pulpit, you're kind of deluded. And so I think you should, maybe we should talk about it. Why do you think that's what should be going on? Are you trying to conspire against us? Do you have our best interest at heart for the decisions that you are choosing to make? Because I sure as hell know that when I wake up every morning, I think I'm doing the correct thing throughout the day, but I have to stop throughout the day and be all like, is that the correct, should I do this? Or should I maybe just go outside and maybe do a little, like practice something, martial arts, touch the ground, breathe, take a walk? Should I go extravagantly build a ballroom for hundreds of millions of dollars? Or should I take that money and maybe help the world in a different way? But it's the people's ballroom. And if it's the people's ballroom, that means we should go dancing. And we're really trying to understand, how do we dance together when people are doing said things? Great lists, assassinations, grand ballrooms and wars. Doesn't this sound like the war that we deal with within ourselves? Madness that has been created by a world that is not dying, but giving birth to something new, it seems. I like that perspective. If I understand it that way, then it gives me a little more agency in the mad world. Then madness doesn't just have to lead to the decay and entropy, but madness can be the divine madness of Socrates as a world that gives birth to the superhuman, right? Nietzsche called it the Übermensch, or the Superman. And I'm not so much wanting it to be a Nietzschean Superman because it has its pitfalls in and of itself. And so for what I like to do, I think that what I'd like to do is I'd like to build a Zeppelin with a ballroom, right? And that Zeppelin may be a great ballroom in the sky that we're all trying to understand and look down at the world and say, why is it going on like that? Why would you build a ballroom on the ground if you have $300 million? Why would you connect it to a house that is white and boring? But maybe it's because this grand ballroom has its own grand design, and that grand design might be some crazy data center, Akashic record, underground symbolic value to holding the great chthonic old ones, the Yog Sothoth or the Cthulhu. Maybe it holds a god. or an angel? A devil? And if we look at it through the mythology and the lens of the anime of today, maybe it holds the monarchs, like in Solo Leveling. Maybe there are portals that we must walk through and clear out caves so I can level up. Maybe we all become our own Sun Jin Woo. Or maybe, just maybe, they're in the world of curses. There are people who creating curses, these demon-like creatures that attach to themselves and have their own little power. Sometimes they become self-aware. And in doing so, in this level of self-awareness, they have their own grand conspiracy abound. And the story takes hold that we must become the hero on our journey. We can become Yuji Itadori as he tries to understand the Jujutsu world. Jujutsu sorcerers. Or maybe, just maybe, you are Link and you're finally starting to wake up. Because the little magical being that just came to you in your sleep and it said, wake up. And then you finally wake up and you go along your journey. You go along the journey of the hero, even though it's in the modern world. And it's going to look a little bit different. And that's going to be okay. And so, this fine evening, we are going to wrap up to the end, but not the end of it all, because we are going to come back. I'm going to do it again, and we're going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And then I'm writing, and we're going to put out videos, and I'm going to expand, and you're going to expand, and we're going to do it together. So make sure to subscribe, like, and share. I know it sounds monotonous, but it really does help. And I appreciate everybody out there. Thank you for hanging out and thinking with me tonight through this wild times. Because nights like these matter where we can have a discussion and a conversation. And the larger it gets and the more people that join us, the more discussion we can have. And then you can ask questions and I will converse with you about them. I don't have answers. I only have ideas. I have some solutions, but they may not be the solution. So why not come along with me on this journey and have solutions together? Because it seems like we're starting to wake up and pay attention to the chaos, to the patterns, and to the symbols. But not all things are caused by others. It's not just causation. Some things correlate, and those correlations have meanings too, but maybe not the meanings that you think. And so we must discuss in the public square. And this public square is right here. So stay awake, stay grounded, and keep noticing those patterns in the world. Together we can notice them every night, and then we can talk about them here because we do it live and we do it together. So have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time.